How's it going, Move Student Ministries? This is Pastor Justin. I wanted to start today's video off by sharing some of my movie recommendations while you guys are locked up in quarantine. These are some of my absolute favorite movies. And I know you guys have a lot of time on your hands, and maybe you're looking for something new to check out. Maybe you're looking for a new movie that you have never heard of before, or maybe a movie that you haven't seen. Maybe you've seen it, but you didn't know if it was any good. So I wanted to recommend a couple movies to you guys. So I'm going to start off with the PG ones, the ones that are perfectly family appropriate. And then I'll move on to the PG-13 ones that maybe you'll have to have a conversation with your parents about before you watch. So the first movie is Secondhand Lions. This is one of my childhood favorites. This movie is fantastic. It's about this little boy whose mom is kind of a out of control crazy woman, and she ditches him with his two eccentric uncles who are rumored to be millionaires. And it's an awesome movie. Michelle, I've been trying to get Michelle to watch it for years, and she just watched it with me a couple weeks ago, and she loved it. She actually plans on watching it again because she liked it so much, and she was on her phone for a lot of it, and so she wants to rewatch it. This is a great movie, and you should check it out, Secondhand Lions. Second movie, this is family appropriate, I'm pretty sure. Seven Samurai. This is an ancient movie. It's black and white. It's from like the 40s, I think. It was in the 40s or 50s this movie was made, but almost every action movie can trace certain parts of it to this movie. This is like one of the most important movies that's ever been made in American cinema. If you have watched Star Wars: The Clone Wars, that show was influenced by a lot of what happens in this movie. This is an amazing movie. It's very long, and it's in Japanese, so you have to watch it with subtitles, but it's stinking awesome. And if any of the senior hires are saying that I'm a weeb for liking this, you're wrong. You're idiots. I'm not a weeb. I'm a fan of cinema. I'm a student of art. Okay, sorry. Moving on. These are now PG-13 movies. So before you go ahead and download these or watch them online, get permission from your parents. I specifically picked ones that didn't have anything too bad in them. First movie is Arrival. This movie got nominated for a ton of awards because it was that stinking good. And it's about these aliens that invade Earth, and no one knows why they're here or what they're doing. And it's about this group of people that are trying to figure out what the aliens want before we end up blowing them up, or, before we end up going to war with the aliens. And so it's really, really stinking good. It'll blow your mind. The ending's fantastic. I can't recommend this one enough. And it's only PG-13 for brief, strong language. I think there's one or two bad words that they use. So it's not bad at all. Arrival. All right. Second PG-13 movie. If you have not seen any of the Lord of the Rings movies, your life has been a sham up until this point. These are the extended editions. So each of these has like 30 to 45 minutes of extra content. And it's the only way to watch the Lord of the Rings movies. But if you have not seen the Lord of the Rings movies, you need to see the Lord of the Rings movies. Okay? Have your parents call and argue with me if they won't let you watch these movies, because these are essential for any Christian to watch. These are essential for any person ever to watch. These are some of the best movies that ever made. And finally, the last movie that through the ages, through the years, has remained the most important movie in my life is The Prestige. This movie has a special place in my heart because it was the first time that my mind was blown by a movie. If you can't see it, maybe you can see it. Hopefully it'll zoom in. This movie is made by Christopher Nolan, who's an amazing director. He made all the Batman Begins movies, like Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, and The Dark Knight. He made Inception, Interstellar. I actually wanted to put 3 different movies from him in this pile, but I had to just choose one. And if I had to choose one Christopher Nolan movie, it is this movie. I have never seen a perfect movie until I saw The Prestige. You have to watch this movie 5 times before you fully understand everything that happens in it. And even then, you'll catch stuff. Every time I rewatch this movie, my mind is blown by it. It's about 2 magicians that are in a duel with each other, that are rivals, and it takes place over the course of years. It is so good, it will mess up your mind. You need to watch this movie. If you watch any movie on this list, watch this. It's PG-13 for violence and some disturbing images. There's a couple scary moments at the very end. But that's it for my movie recommendations. Hopefully you can check some of those out and you enjoy them the way I have enjoyed them. We're going to do a sermon and then we're going to go into worship because YouTube analytics told me that I have your attention for about 12 minutes and then I lose it. So I'm not going to waste time. My sermon's going to be short today. I'm going to try to do a 10 to 15 minute sermon and then we're going to have worship at the end. So let's pray to kick things off. You guys can bow your heads with me, close your eyes at home, or just watch me while I pray. It doesn't matter to me. Father, I thank you for these young people. I just pray that as we go through your word today, as we talk about these new topics, these new ideas, that something would stick, that something would take hold in our heart, and that it would come out in our actions as we go on throughout the day. In your name, amen. All right. So, I've wanted to do a series about evangelism for a while because I feel like it's one of our weakest points as a youth ministry. And I don't blame you guys, I blame myself for that because I have not pushed it. I have not taught you evangelism well. I have not made it a huge priority from the pulpit as I've tried to do that. But I want to change that. And this is a weird time to start talking about evangelism while you're all in quarantine, but we're going to do what we can with what we have in front of us. So I've always struggled with evangelism, and I think a lot of you have too. Minnesotans, we're sensitive to topics like religion and politics, and we don't want to make people uncomfortable. I know that's true of myself. I know how uncomfortable talking about Jesus and talking about religion can be, and so we just avoid it a lot of times. And one of the questions that I was asking myself as I thought about this is how much harder would it be to share Jesus if it were illegal? Like in America, there is no law prohibiting you from sharing your religion with other people. How much harder would it be if it was illegal to do something, or if you could be putting your life in danger for talking about Jesus? But those are the conditions that Christianity came from. And so there's just a story that I wanted to share with you guys from ancient Rome about some Christians that were sharing their faith and what ended up happening as a result. And that's going to tie us into the sermon that we're going to do, the verses we're going to read from. So, back in 320 AD, so 320 years after the birth of Christ, there was a Roman governor in the country of Armenia, and that's like Europe, kind of central, maybe Eastern Europe. And this Roman governor discovered that 40 of his soldiers were Christians. And these Christians refused to worship Roman gods. They refused to make sacrifices. They refused to participate in any of the Roman worship that they would do of these gods. A lot of times it would be kind of immoral stuff. A lot of times, like you would worship a certain god by having sex with prostitutes. You'd worship gods, of violence. You'd worship gods of, wine and drunkenness. And so they refused to participate in those things. And the Roman governor wasn't okay with it. So he took these 40 men, he had them stripped naked, and he brought them out into the middle of an icy lake in the middle of winter. So these men are butt naked on the middle of a lake in the middle of winter, and he set up hot baths around on the shore of the lake. And he told these men that they were free to come off the lake whenever they wanted, as long as they renounced Jesus and agreed to worship the Roman gods. And so these 40 naked men in the middle of winter on an icy lake, I don't know if you've ever walked barefoot outside in the middle of winter. It is uncomfortable. And that's just your feet being on the bare ice. And so these men are totally naked on the middle of a lake, the wind's howling, and all they need to do to get into a hot bath is to give up Jesus. And so they're standing there, and these 40 men are freezing cold, and they start encouraging each other. These 40 soldiers start lifting each other up, and one of them says, we were willing to fight and die for mortal kings. We were willing to fight and die for the Roman king. How much better would it be to die for the King of Kings, for our heavenly King, for the true King, for Jesus? And so they're standing on this icy lake, and they're encouraging each other, and they're lifting each other up, and they're doing everything they can to strengthen and empower each other. One of them can't handle it anymore, though. And he runs off the lake, renounces Jesus, and hops into a hot bath. And while this is all happening, there's a Roman guard on the edge of the lake who's watching all this happen. And as this man runs off the lake and jumps into a hot bath, he strips down naked and runs out onto the lake to join these other men, and he yells, "I'm a Christian," and he joins them. And the idea is that he saw these men who were being persecuted for their faith, who were suffering because of their faith, and encouraging each other and lifting each other up and empowering each other in the process. And it enabled him to find faith of his own. He might have been a Christian beforehand, but he wasn't living in it, obviously, because he wasn't one of those 40 men who were out in the lake in the beginning. And as he watched these men commit and lift each other up and form a brotherhood in their faith through their suffering, he decided that he wanted that too. And when that one man gave up his faith in Jesus, he gained his faith in Jesus, and he joined these men out in the lake. And the reason I want to talk about this today is because the main idea that we're going to be talking about this month, is that evangelism starts with the family of Jesus. You know, we use words like encourage and uplifting, but what these men were really doing when they talked about that, when they said, you know, we were willing to die for kings of Rome, let's die for the King of Kings, they're evangelizing to each other. They're sharing the good news of Jesus with each other. This is Christians evangelizing to Christians. They're sharing the good news of Jesus with each other. And the idea that I want you guys to get in your heads is so simple. It's that evangelizing starts with the family of Jesus, that you can build your skills when it comes to sharing Jesus with other people by sharing the good news of Jesus with other Christians, with each other. And, you know, this week, I don't know if you know this, but this Sunday is Easter, and that means the week leading up to Easter is the week of Passover, and Passover starts tonight, it goes through tomorrow, and Passover was the night that Jesus was betrayed. It's when Judas left, and he conspired with the religious leaders and the teachers. They paid him for his efforts, and he kind of found a place for them to meet up and arrest Jesus. And so today is when all this starts. And I wanted to read you guys, I wanted our sermon to tie into that today. I wanted our sermon to tie into Passover in some way. And this verse that we're going to read today ties perfectly into our theme of evangelism. And the verse we're going to read takes place right after Judas leaves to go arrange for Jesus' arrest. So Judas gets fed up with Jesus and his teachings. He says, "I'm done with you. It's time for you to go to jail. It's time for you to be arrested. It's time for you to be taken out." So Judas leaves, and Jesus shares this with his followers. This is going to be from the book of John, chapter 13, verse 34 through 35. So that's John 13, 34 through 35. I'm going to read to you guys. "I'm giving you a new commandment." This is Jesus speaking, if you haven't figured it out yet. "I'm giving you a new commandment, and it's this: love one another just as I have loved you, so you must love one another. This is how everybody will know that you are my disciples, if you love each other." And he's speaking specifically to his small group of disciples. He isn't speaking to a crowd. He isn't speaking to just, anyone who can hear him. He's speaking to his closest, most intimate followers. And he says, "This is how people will know that you belong to me." And it's not by the way you act. It's not by the way you dress. It's not by the things you don't do. It's not because you don't do drugs. It's not because you don't have sex. It's not because you don't do this. People will know you belong to me because you love each other. When you love each other well, it's evangelism. And that's the idea. When you love other Christians well, you are sharing the love of God with non-Christians. That's the idea Jesus says here. It's verse 35. "This is how everyone will know you are my disciples, if you have love for each other." And that's a good place for us to start. If we're uncomfortable sharing the good news of Jesus, if we don't know how, if we don't have the skills, if we don't have the courage, we can start by evangelizing to each other. And evangelism starts with the family of Jesus. That's the whole point from this entire short little sermon. I want you to encourage each other. I want you to love each other like a family. People will be attracted to the love that you have for your brothers and sisters in Christ. People will see it, and just like that Roman on the edge of the lake, our family will grow when they see us love each other well. When we're encouraging each other, when we're lifting each other up, people will want to be a part of that, because this world is full of lonely people. Especially right now when people are trapped in with their families. Especially when the only time that you can communicate with people is through a phone. Our world is full of lonely people. And when we make a loving community that takes care of each other and lifts each other up, other people are going to want to be a part of that. And it'll be easy to bring them in. It'll happen naturally. And so this is what I want you to do. That's the sermon, kids. We're done. That was the whole thing. I know, right? But I have some action that I need you guys to take. I need you to think of three people that are a part of our church that you can reach out to, that you can show love to them. I want 2 of those people to be people that you normally connect with, or maybe people that you are easy to connect with for you. They don't have to be your best friends, but you can reach out to 2 people that are easy for you to give love to. But then I want you to reach out to one person that maybe you're not that close to, that maybe you don't know very well, that maybe it's harder for you to show love to that person. I want you to reach out to that person. You can find them on social media. You can ask people for their number and they will give it to you. I mean, I've been asking students for other students' numbers all week, and everyone has had the numbers I've needed. If you need a number, you can text me, you can text a leader, you can Facebook me, and I will get you that phone number. But I want you to pick 2 people that they're easy for you to give love to. And I want to pick one person that maybe you don't know well enough that you could give love to. Maybe there's a person that you don't think gets love from anybody and you want to give them love. That's a good place to start. And all I want you to do, all you have to do, maybe you say, Pastor Justin, I don't know how to give love to people. This is the worst thing you could have asked me to do. It's very simple. You check in with them. You say, how are you doing? What are you up to? What have you been doing for fun? You ask questions. Maybe you know that person is into something. You can have a conversation with them about that thing. The more questions you ask, the easier a conversation gets. That's what they taught me. When I started A+, they taught me that. All you have to do is sit down with a kid and ask questions until you can have a conversation. Eventually, if you ask enough questions, you'll find something to talk about. And then once you've had a conversation, once you've been able to encourage them in some way, lift them up in some way, show love for them in some way, I want you to pray for them. And you can do it on your own, you can do it in private, but I want you to pray out loud, and you can go in your room and whisper it. But I want you to pray out loud for them by name. Pray that God would protect them. Pray that God would take care of them. Pray that God would make sure they feel loved. Pray that God would take care of their mental health as much as he takes care of their physical health. We need to start evangelizing to our own church community. And that's what I want to see. I want to see you guys grow in your love for each other. And I want to see that grow out of our church family and as we bring new people in. So I'm going to pray for you guys, and then we are going to go into a little time of worship with Pastor Erica. I'm going to call her Pastor Erica until it's official. And that's going to be it for today. You guys can bow your heads with me, close your eyes. Father, I just pray that you would embolden us to show love for each other so that we can gain the skills to show love to the rest of this world. The way you commanded us on the night you were betrayed, Father, would we show love? Would we lift each other up? Would we embolden each other and strengthen each other? And would our family grow as a result? Would you overflow our hearts with love? Would our hearts get so much bigger than we think they could? Would you soften us so much more than you think you could soften us, Father? Would you turn us into these loving, tender-hearted people? Will we get to see amazing things happen? Will we get to see amazing things happen, Father? In your name, amen. I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Erica.
Found love never runs dry, from the depths to the sky. Eyes fixed on the one who knows no end. Stand strong for all of time, in the joy and in the trial. You are the beginning and the end. Your love goes on, your love goes on. Ever our hearts seek Jesus in everything. sky to ocean deep, your love goes on. Through every rise and fall, we are forever yours. One thing we know is sure, your love goes on and on and on. This is your love. Dawn break into the night, you're here with us, you're on our side. Your arms are forever open wide. You stand strong for all of time, in the joy and in the trial. You are the beginning and the end. And your love goes on. Your love goes on. Ever our heart will seek Jesus in everything. From the sky to ocean deep, your love goes on. Through every rise and fall, we are forever yours. One thing we know is sure, your love goes on. On. We can hope in our hearts. Love unfailing, never shaken. Hope awakens in you. Love unfailing, never shaken. And hope awakens in you, love unfailing, never shaken. Hope awakens in you, love unfailing, never shaken. Hope awakens. Ever our hearts seek Jesus in everything. From the sky to ocean deep, your love goes on.